My name is Avery. I currently work for DEKA Research and Development here in the millyard. I work as a mechanical and manufacturing engineer. So a lot of my work is in physical design and actually working to construct devices and fixtures and prototypes.
How do you describe a typical day at work?
Something about this job that's very new to me is sort of the open-endedness of it. So we all have deadlines and requirements to meet for projects, but how you get there is very up to you. So in a typical day, I could have meetings, I could be working on modeling or design, I could be reading technical manuals for equipment or processes we're working with. Sometimes I'm using drills or machine tools to change stuff. So it's very, very dependent on the day and the need of the project.
What kind of support did you have along the way?
Support is critical. Like, no one can really make it alone. I have a very good network of friends that I've met and made here in Manchester. And oftentimes, life is overwhelming. Trying to, I was working full-time and doing a bachelor's degree program at the same time, which is always fun. And yeah, you hit points where it's just like, you feel like you can't do this. And having close friends who really, they're the people who see the best in you. They're the people who encourage you, yes, this is difficult, but you can and you will work through this. I know you can. It's very, very helpful both to me and to the people who have them. That kind of support is critical. I am a transgender woman. I've been open and out for a bit over 3 years now. And that process, my transition, is definitely both one of the most difficult, probably the most difficult thing I've done, as well as the most positive, the most rewarding for me. And it definitely came at a time growing up, late 90s, early 2000s, homophobia and transphobia were still very baked into our culture. And one issue I had is I had kind of no idea that this was something I could do with my life because there were no good really visible role models for it. So I'm very happy that I've been able to do this for myself and to work this out, but I also hope that in the same way appearing on camera and in interviews like this, that I can be that visibility for other people where I didn't have that growing up.
What education did you receive?
In terms of education, I had some very good professors at certain points. For my associate's degree, I had some very good old hand in industry teachers for machine tooling, people who'd worked in industry, some people who previously worked with DEKA years before, who are at the point where it's like, hey, I've done this for a long time and I really want to share what I know and work with people, not in a overly critical environment, but just that kind of teaching method of passing on old knowledge to people, being able to share what you've learned over your lifetime was really helpful to me. That kind of a learning environment worked well. And with my bachelor's degree pursuing manufacturing systems, we had a professor who ran the program out of Northeastern University who did a very good job in approaching people who'd worked in industry, people who weren't specifically good or knowledgeable about academic environments, and really reaching us where we were and what our experiences were, to then build upon that for a traditional education. So those kind of differences, different approaches really to education were really necessary for me to get into it, because I was not the best in a traditional academic environment. I really had to build a foundation of understanding in the fields that I work in, first from machining, really creating things by hand, then to why am I making it this way? What is the design? And building from the ground up really helped me understand that these concepts in the field.
Why did you choose Manchester?
Manchester was, a mill town, like a lot of New England towns and cities. So both manufacturing especially, as well as labor movements are really baked into the history of these places. And one thing that I definitely like we're in a mill building right now. I work in a mill building, and I'm really happy to see that kind of history and those structures preserved for housing and employing people still. I'd much rather see that and keep that history and that aesthetic than to replace them with more modern buildings, especially when they can still serve the same purpose now that they did then. I've worked in Greater Manchester in manufacturing for basically my career for about 7 years, but I'm still relatively new to the millyard and DEKA for the last few months. So it's something where, and again, it's something that I never saw in my youth. The same with my discovery of machining was just something that was never presented to me as, hey, these are the things that are happening around you. And definitely seeing it and understanding it more, I've been very happy about that personally.
What do you see for STEM opportunities in Manchester?
One thing that I think is difficult for STEM fields is accessibility. These are very high-tech, high resource-intensive areas of study and work. And a part of that becomes a problem when people in your community don't have access to that. They don't have access to the resources to really pursue these fields. Something that I feel companies in the area definitely should be doing, something that's very positive, like how First Robotics impacts high schools, is providing the tools and the ability for people who might not ever have gotten to work with these kinds of fields before, give them access to that. I think that companies and organizations really should be striving to improve access to reach more people and to create a more passionate and diverse group of people that they can work with. I definitely think that's a direction companies should be going, not to find a perfect candidate who already fits your bill, but to find people who are willing to grow and become the people that you need. Mentoring, I consider that a part of offering resources to people and places in the same way that you might donate materials. You can also donate your time and your knowledge to people to pass on what you know and get people ready and prepared for their future.